Vernon Davis crying.
Our number 10 greatest draft moment captures the raw emotion television viewers witness when a player's life is changed forever.
Vernon Davis crying, that had a domino effect where now every single guy who gets picked all of a sudden breaks down and cries.
The Miami Dolphins select Ted Ginn. The Seattle Seahawks select Aaron Curry. The Dallas Cowboys select Morris Claiborne.
It was real emotional. How you doing, Coach? Coach Mangini, actually, he was like, I'm looking at you on TV, you're crying, can you smile for us?
You getting your cry in there?
Yeah, I got it. I definitely did.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're really proud of you.
Thank you.
Here you go.
You all right, Mom? Come on, man. She gonna make me cry. I know.
There's 3 or 4 moments when a grown man is allowed to cry publicly. Birth of a child, of course, you cry. I hate Notre Dame, Rudy. Okay to cry. It's okay. You're allowed to cry if your mom or grandma's crying.
Wait, I'm so proud of you, Dante.
So if you get drafted, and now with the 4th pick overall, Craig Carton, and look, and there's my mom and grandma. All right, you can cry there.
Remember now, the 49ers weren't very good. My thought was, man, he must really not want to play for the 49ers.
Men aren't supposed to cry. Yes, you are. It's okay.
Hello? Yeah. That whole day was, one of the most exciting days of my life. It's the happiest I've ever been, ever. All I could do is cry.
Hey, Coach. How you doing? Fine. Yeah.
To ball all of a sudden when you know you're going somewhere in the first round, it seems, it wasn't ingenuine, obviously, but it was bizarre.
Vernon Davis, I wouldn't mind having him. He's a pretty darn good tight end. Bring him over. Let him cry all he wants.
I guess some people don't expect it, especially a guy that, looks like Tarzan, but I have no problem with it. It's an emotional day for a lot of these kids.
I made it, man. Yeah.
When you say Vernon Davis crying, I say, which time?
Our number 10 draft moment foreshadowed the emotions that would come with Vernon Davis's career.
The bigger surprise is when he cried when Mike Singletary told him to get lost.
Mike Singletary made him get up, and it looks like he's gone.
Cannot play with him.
Cannot play with him.
Cannot win with him.
Cannot win with him.
Cannot coach with him.
Cannot coach with him.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
I want winners.
I want winners.
4 years later, Davis's journey came full circle when the tears began to flow again.
Vernon Davis with the play of his life.
He did it. That's one hell of a football play.
Let's do it. Superman. When you stop crying, can I holler at you?
Vernon Davis is an emotional guy. He came into the league crying. He's made a career of crying, and he'll probably go out crying, hopefully as a champion for his sake.
The number 9 draft moment of all time. Randy Moss falling.
To keep the draft compelling, it's great to have a guy who was expected to go high just keep dropping and dropping and dropping.
Now, we really begin to watch where Randy Moss may or may not go. Do you take a risk and just go with him because he's a great football player, or is there a red flag?
I'd much rather have a team of petty thieves and guys that knocked up a bunch of broads in college who have 40 kids around America and win than a bunch of guys that are really good guys who never win.
I come ready. I came out the womb, I was ready. Tell him, mama, you know I was ready. That's why you had me.
Randy Moss, fantastic player. Everybody wanted to take him. They were afraid to take him.
Everybody knew Moss is a top 10, top 5 talent. It was who's going to roll the dice.
The Cowboys are removing Randy Moss from the equation at this selection. Any player who mixed substance abuse with violent behavior was something they wanted to stay away from.
Dallas Cowboys select defensive end from North Carolina, Greg Ellis.
You talk about Jerry Jones. This is the one moment that he wishes he had back. And of course, it all came home on Thanksgiving of 1998 when Randy Moss just absolutely put on one of the best shows right in front of Jerry Jones and in front of all the world.
Got Moss, touchdown, Vikings!
He went into Dallas and had what Sports Illustrated called one of those "why the hell didn't you draft me" performances, the 3-touchdown, 151-yard game.
But a couple of Cowboys had the angle on Randy Moss. He just flat out ran him. Randy Moss is amazing. Rookie of the year, Moss!
The Cowboys weren't the only team that got burned when they passed on Randy Moss.
Brian Leaf, Andre Wadsworth,
You know what? You're going to be there for us at 21. No, Coach, I'm not.
Curtis Enos, Greg Ellis,
Not that team number 8, this other team.
Jason Peter,
I said it's not going to happen.
Robert Edwards,
A team actually drafted another wide receiver before Randy Moss.
Kevin Dyson.
Our number 9 draft moment came to an end,
Vonnie Holiday, Terry Thayer.
and the Vikings and head coach Dennis Green were on the board with the 21st pick.
The Minnesota Vikings have selected wide receiver from Marshall University, Randy Moss.
I'm going to come here and try to do the best I can to rip the NFL up.
They call me the freak, man.
Why they call you the freak?
Because I'm a freak of nature. You're going to see today, just keep your eyes glued to the TV.
Moss isn't the first Hall of Fame caliber player to slip in the draft. It happened to Dan Marino in 1983 and Warren Sapp in 1995.
I mean, there's always somebody looking to knock you off a pedestal. So, I mean, it doesn't really bother me that much.
We know and have documented how talented they are, yet they've got this red flag. They're this calculated risk. I mean, who's laughing now? Warren Sapp's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Randy Moss is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. They're going to get the last laugh because ultimately they become great pros.
The number 8 draft moment of all time. Denver trades up for Tebow.
Tim Tebow, in the eyes of many, was nothing better than a third-round pick.
Anytime a team trades up for a player projected to go 2 rounds later, it's a surprise. It becomes one of the greatest draft moments of all time when that player is Tim Tebow.
People close to Tim Tebow are getting a strong sense that Denver could be where he ends up.
That was the wild card of the draft. Who was going to take Tebow? Nobody thought he was going in the first round.
Where's Jimmy Clausen? Is Tim Tebow going to go ahead of Jim Clausen?
I had Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk behind me, and I said, "This is Tebow." All of a sudden, we get this big-time curveball.
Let's hear the words that few people thought would ever be heard on the first night of an NFL draft.
It was such a shock. It's like they did what?
Really, a first-round pick?
Baltimore has traded the 25th pick to Denver. And with the 25th pick in the 2010 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Tim Tebow, quarterback, Florida.
I mean, it shocked everybody. We knew he was a charismatic guy, but he wasn't a first-round talent. He was never going to throw the ball like John Elway. Nobody was ever going to confuse him for Troy Aikman.
The Broncos trading up for Tebow sent shockwaves through Radio City Music Hall and the NFL world.
Look at the price that they paid to go up and get him. A 2, a 3, and a 4.
When Denver moved up to take Tim Tebow, people thought they had lost their minds.
When Ozzie Newsome heard the offer, talked to someone in the Ravens draft room who said his eyes bugged out. He couldn't believe it, felt like he had to make the move.
People in Denver were surprised about it. I'm sure that there were people in the Broncos organization that were surprised about it. I think Tim Tebow's mom was surprised about it. Even his parents probably wouldn't have taken him that high.
To this day, I don't know if Josh McDaniel will ever tell anybody. What did you see in Tim Tebow?
Who was on the phone? Take me through that moment.
Well, they called and I go, "Jimmy, it's like 3:03. Should I answer?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Definitely." He got all excited. He goes, "Yeah, should you answer it?"
He's a nice guy. You want to like him, but stop selling me Jesus.
Our God is an awesome God. He reigns.
Tebow, he's a lightning rod because of his beliefs and because he can't play. And we're all trying to figure out, why is it that a guy that clearly can't play quarterback at the NFL level is a quarterback at the NFL level?
To all the critics and stuff, just thank you for the motivation, because it truly has been a lot of motivation, and I truly believe that has been an edge for me, and it will continue to be an edge for me.
The magical run of Tebow's 2011 Broncos makes our number 8 draft moment even more memorable.
But I'll say this about Tim Tebow. I've met a lot of men in my day. He by far is the single most handsome human being I've ever met in my life.
Tim, congratulations. All the best in Denver.
Thank you so much.
All right, Tim Tebow, Denver Broncos quarterback.
The number 7 draft moment of all time. Donovan McNabb and Ricky Williams.
I would say the top on my list would be the booing of Donovan McNabb, and then second, probably the big trade for Ricky Williams.
On our list, we've combined those to come up with our number 7 draft moment.
What happened with Ricky Williams and the fans being absolutely wrong, because they always are, it's just a great moment in NFL history.
In 1999, Donovan McNabb and Ricky Williams were two of the most highly touted players in the draft.
I will say I wanted Ricky Williams, but there's a difference. Right? You can want Ricky Williams, but that doesn't mean that you have to act like a subhuman. It's kind of like, in every family you've got somebody that you're a little embarrassed about, like your uncle or your aunt or your cousin. It's like you only see them on holidays, but you kind of deny that they're your family member. Philadelphia rounded all those people up and sent them to New York.
Philadelphia fans went to New York in hopes of bringing home Williams.
You knew what they were going to do, so you kind of watched like this through your fingers?
With the second pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Donovan McNabb, quarterback, Syracuse University.
The 21-year-old guy, he just had his lifetime dream come true, and you're booing him incessantly.
I hope the fans don't take it out on Donovan McNabb.
No, they better not.
They really better not.
It wasn't that they were necessarily booing Donovan McNabb. They were booing the decision not to take Ricky Williams because they felt that Ricky Williams was the surer bet.
I'm sorry, I love passionate fans, but get a life.
3 picks later, the unthinkable happened.
There has been a trade involving this 5th pick in the draft.
The New Orleans Saints trade their entire draft to get the player that you could have had at number 2. Yeah, I mean, that's just gasoline dumped on an 8-alarm fire.
The New Orleans Saints select Ricky Williams, running back, University of Texas.
Well, Mike Ditka fell in love with Ricky Williams coming out of Texas, and he was willing to literally mortgage the house to go get this one running back.
New Orleans 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks in this draft, and New Orleans 1st and 3rd round picks in next year's draft.
It's amazing this trade did not destroy Ditka's legacy.
What was the reaction in your room when James was passed and you knew you had the deal in place with the Redskins?
It was pretty calm except for me.
It's just like Mike Ditka, let's give him everything, he's with the cigar. I mean, why is he even in the draft room? It makes just coach.
McNabb went on to 5 conference championship games and a Super Bowl.
The Eagles are headed to the Super Bowl.
And Ricky Williams had 5 1,000-yard rushing seasons.
They complain about Andy Reid never having won a Super Bowl. If he had taken Ricky Williams, like all the fans and the mayor wanted him to, I don't even know if the Eagles would have had any winning seasons.
I think the fans were unfair. I think it was clearly the right pick for the Eagles, but he still remembers that and still just doesn't release that from his memory banks. Sometimes you just got to let it go. Behind you. Don't worry about it.
The number 6 draft moment of all time. The Raider Unknown.
Next up, Oakland Raiders.
Our number 6 draft moment comes every year.
Okay, Raider fans.
And it's exciting for fans and analysts alike.
Raiders, the fun begins. The unknown. Shall we just dive headfirst into that unknown?
I think we shall.
I can't think of one good player they've taken in the draft.
The Oakland Raiders select Robert Gallery, Fabian Washington,
Rolando McClain.
The big jerk from LSU that played quarterback for us.
Jamarcus Russell, LSU.
How many of those guys lasted in the league?
Yeah, I knew Al Davis was going to do it. He's the man. He's always been.
Sebastian Janikowski, kicker, Florida State.
Are you kidding me? A kicker in the first round? That's unheard of. They do the unexpected, and that's what makes the draft great.
Sometimes the Raider Unknown has worked out great.
Running back from Auburn, Bo Jackson.
It's a foot race. Will anybody catch him? Holy Toledo!
And other times, it is just plain flopped.
The Raiders are going to reach for somebody with a multisyllabic, hyphenated name.
Darius Hayward Bay.
This guy who was once weekend trash guy is super quick.
The Raiders just chose Mike Mitchell out of Ohio.
Ohio University safety?
Defensive back. I'm looking for him. I see him graded in your 7th round on your list.
Fast? Check. Big? Check. Can he play? Maybe. And they still draft him.
Good size, ran fast. Well, what a surprise. He is now an Oakland Raider.
Since 2001, the Raider unknown on draft day has included many good athletes, but only 2 Pro Bowlers, cornerback Nnamdi Asomugha and tight end Zach Miller.
There's nothing conventional about their thinking. I mean, the Raiders could go any which way.
You never knew. And I think Al liked it like that. He liked to outsmart everybody.
Oakland's first-round selection.
Nobody had ever drafted a punter in the first round before, and nobody's drafted a punter in the first round since. Turned out that was a pretty smart decision. I mean, Ray Guy went on and became probably the best punter in the league for more than a decade.
The greatest punter who ever played the game, Ray Guy, would be someone that everyone could nod their head and say, that's a good choice, Coach.
Our number 6 draft moment is always one of our favorite parts of draft day.
It's great to be a Raider.
Hopefully in the post-Al Davis era, we'll still get Raider surprises.
And now, the number 5 draft moment of all time. The Vikings missed their picks.
The Minnesota Vikings are now on the clock.
Vikings, they can turn the pick at any time.
Again, same thing we had happen last year.
You know it's got to have the pick.
Well, guess what, Danny? If you want Byron, let's switch it.
There was 15 minutes on the clock. You couldn't get a pick in 15 minutes?
I think it deserves to be higher than number 5. That's never going to happen again in the history of the NFL. In fact, I could argue it's top 3.
In 2002 and 2003, the Vikings organization stumbled on their first-round picks, causing a lot of people to scratch their heads.
I don't think people understand how many man-hours go into a draft. There's 10 to 12 scouts all year long, 14-hour days, 16 hours. Everything culminates in this one moment, and the Vikings blow it twice.
Welcome to the 2002 draft.
Here we go.
That year, they wanted Ryan Sims.
You've got Kansas City who wants to leapfrog Minnesota there and go up there to take Ryan Sims, the defensive tackle from North Carolina, because Minnesota's got their eyes on that guy.
When trade negotiations between the Chiefs and Cowboys ran long, the Vikings had a chance to leapfrog them, but Minnesota failed to turn their card in first.
Dallas has got to get this pick in. Minnesota can't jump in front of them right now.
There was just so much going on, and there was a snafu at the table with getting the card up.
All you had to do, okay, I'll turn in his name, and you did it. Well, it didn't happen.
They should be up there at the podium, taking advantage of Dallas passing on this pick, so something is up here.
It's pressure. It's pressure. Once that clock starts ticking, it sends some of these teams into panic mode.
Kansas City has selected Ryan Sims.
There's no excuse for not being ready.
They could have moved right up there and got their card in if it had been ready and taken Sims, and that would have killed the Kansas City trade.
The Vikings thought they had their pick, they turned their pick in, and then, no. That trade went through.
The Minnesota Vikings select Bryant McKinnie, tackle from the University of Miami.
I saw the card that said Ryan Sims. Did your folks tell your representatives here in New York to write down the name on the card and be ready in case time expired?
As soon as we knew time was getting close to expiring, we called in to our people, asked them to write down Ryan Sims.
Had anybody ever missed a first-round draft pick? I don't think that had ever happened before. Viking fans only had to wait another year to see it happen again.
Well, Danny, the clock is winding down on the Vikings.
How is it possible that it could happen again?
In 2003, the clock ran out on the Vikings once again as they tried to complete a trade with the Ravens, causing television mayhem.
Vikings, they can turn the pick at any time.
That was so Vikings of the Vikings.
Again, same thing we had happen last year.
You know what? Turn your pick in.
The fans were absolutely infuriated. Somebody picks ahead of us.
Jacksonville Jaguars select Byron Leftwich, quarterback from Marshall.
We were like 7th, and then we were 8th.
The Carolina Panthers select Jordan Gross.
And then we were 9th.
The Minnesota Vikings select Kevin Williams, defensive tackle from Oklahoma State.
Fortunately, they ended up with Kevin Williams, who became one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. I think it's funny now, but it was tragic when it was happening.
The number 4 draft moment of all time. Mel Kiper versus Bill Tobin.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way?
Mel Kiper versus Bill Tobin. One of my favorite draft moments ever.
A moment that sort of helped the draft grow and made it almost must-see TV.
In 1994, no one took issue with Colts general manager Bill Tobin's first pick.
With the second pick in the first round, the Indianapolis Colts select Marshall Faulk.
It was his second pick that raised eyebrows.
The Rams have made a trade with Indianapolis. Indianapolis has selected Trev Alberts, linebacker from Nebraska.
How the heck do you pick Trev Alberts?
Trev is about 245 pounds. He can play linebacker. He can play defensive end. We thought he was the second best defensive player on the board.
The player that Kiper thought should have been picked was Trent Dilfer.
You got a problem with this move? I think it's a typical Colt move. I mean, here's a team that needed a franchise quarterback.
Because he said all they have left on their roster is this guy named Jim Harbaugh.
To pass up a Trent Dilfer when all you have is Jim Harbaugh, give me a break. That's why the Colts are picking second every year in the draft, not battling for the Super Bowl like other clubs in the National Football League.
You know, if you're a guy who's a general manager of a team and you've made a pick, you think it's a pretty good pick. Within 10 seconds after you've made it, Mel Kiper has just told your entire fan base it was a terrible decision and this guy can't play. Yeah, you're not going to be very happy about that.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way? I mean, here's a guy that criticizes everybody, whoever they take. He's got the answers to who you should take and who you shouldn't take.
That was unscripted, wasn't premeditated. It was real, live. The gloves were off.
He's never, ever put on a jockstrap. He's never been a player. He's never been a coach. He's never been a scout. He's never been an administrator.
I think a lot of people had that kind of feeling, and Tobin was the first one to actually express it.
He's in our papers 2 days ago telling us who we have to take. We don't have to take anybody that Mel Kiper says we have to take. Mel Kiper has no more credentials to do what he's doing than my neighbor, and my neighbor's a postman, and he doesn't even have season tickets to the NFL.
Hearing Bill Tobin say, who the hell is Mel Kiper?
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way?
It's like one of those where were you when they had the most childish argument ever.
Well, Chris, I'll tell you, I'm secure in my position. Obviously, Bill Tobin is not very secure in his position to have a response like that.
I'm right. No, I'm right. Well, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. They were this close to doing the I'm rubber, you're glue back and forth.
To me, it's a mistake. You cannot go with Jim Harbaugh and pass up Trent Dilfer.
While history prefers Kiper's choice of Trent Dilfer over Tobin's pick of Trev Alberts, it wasn't like Dilfer was a home run in Tampa, and Tobin was vindicated in 1995 when the Colts made the playoffs 2 years after passing on Dilfer with Jim Harbaugh at quarterback.
I don't think we need ice in the water today.
Hey, I mean, show us how much we know and how much everybody else knows.
That's got to be higher. To me, that's my all-time favorite draft day moment.
That's why the Colts are the laughingstock of the league year in and year out.
I love that. Who's Mel Kiper? Who is he?
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way?
Bill Tobin's not in the league anymore. Trev Alberts isn't in the league anymore. Mel Kiper will be there on draft day.
The number 3 draft moment of all time. The Eli Manning trade.
With the first choice in the 2004 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Eli Manning, quarterback, Mississippi.
One of the most priceless moments on draft day. Just the vision of Eli Manning holding up that Chargers jersey and almost holding it out like it had radioactive stink to it.
I hear what they're chanting, Manning sucks.
Right in front of his mom. Eli sucks. Right in front of his mom.
Fans are chanting for him to put the hat on, and it's entertaining. It was awful for everyone on stage and wonderful to watch for everyone not on stage.
Giants general manager Ernie Accorsi was very interested in Eli Manning. That's the guy that he wanted. Problem with Ernie is he didn't have the number 1 pick.
Well, what we learned this morning is that Giants GM Ernie Accorsi is waiting for Chargers GM A.J. Smith to get back to him.
I didn't know A.J. Smith, who was the San Diego general manager, so all I said to him is, if you're interested in trading out of there, I would be interested. We were 4. We didn't have a long way to go.
Eli was going to go to San Diego. The Chargers had that pick, but the Mannings kind of made it clear that they didn't want to go to San Diego.
I don't think Eli's going to want to put it on.
If it's possible.
Can it just be there for the pictures or whatever? All right, let me run that across him, and I'll holler back at either you or Roger.
his agents and he want to be in New York for the marketing. They don't want to be in San Diego.
The Chargers would not be bullied. They weren't going to accept too low of a trade. So they took Eli Manning. So it was like a little boy up there who was being punished and made to stand up in front of the class.
It was almost like, how did this happen? Daddy, you said I wouldn't have to do this.
Our number 3 draft moment occurred at the last minute when Giants GM Ernie Accorsi was able to pull off a trade with San Diego.
Halfway through, almost at the 7-minute mark exactly, AJ called and he said, how about next year's number 1? I said, yes.
With the 4th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Philip Rivers.
Once I picked Rivers, then I was allowed to make the trade Rivers for Manning. If Eli didn't want to come to New York, we wouldn't have been able to pull it off. Fortunately, he was interested in playing for us.
You know, Eli played that thing out perfectly by being an on camera.
Philip Rivers found early success in the NFL. While it took longer for Eli Manning, he is the player with 2 Super Bowl rings.
But for any player to snub their nose at a franchise, that really bothers me. Because to me, it's like, who do you think you are?
Who wants to go to a team that you don't really think has a chance?
I still think it can work out for Rivers. In the long run, it worked out probably for both of them. But right now, edge to the Giants.
The number 2 draft moment of all time, Jets fans booing.
We need that kind of player.
Please,
we need him.
Jets fans, clueless. Clueless.
Jets fans, where are you?
There is always one distinct roar heard loudest at the draft.
That reaction is as loud and as visceral as anything you're going to hear in the stadium on game day.
They're the most emotional,
Boomer can't throw it more than 10 yards.
frantic,
The Jet fans are just exploded.
long-suffering fans in football.
It's a bad dream.
You could walk out there as Roger Goodell and announce the Jets select Joe Namath, and they would boo. It's a trained monkey thing. It's the commissioner, 3, 2, 1, he stops talking, now we boo.
It's the most entertaining time of a draft when the Jets make their selection.
We just boo. Makes us feel good about ourselves being mean to other people.
Love it. Never been to a draft thing, but the Jets fans are fabulous. They are passionate. The booing is now part of the Jets flavor.
Jet fans, they don't know what they're talking about.
The worst pick since last year.
They're not always wrong. I know everyone thinks that, they're obnoxious and they're always yelling a lot.
We could trade a hands down. I would trade them right now.
They traded up for Darrelle Revis. They got really excited. I think they were right about that one.
Intercepted, picked up by Revis.
In 1995, the Jets fans were calling for Warren Sapp.
Warren Sapp. Yeah. Warren Sapp. Sapp is the man.
Now, Warren Sapp had a little marijuana problem prior to the draft, which scared the Jets away.
We'll clean up his act. Bring Sapp to New York. We'll take care of him.
But Kyle Brady was their pick.
The New York Jets select tight end from Penn State, Kyle Brady.
I think the best booing that the Jets gave was obviously, I think we can all agree on Kyle Brady.
This has to be the biggest mockery I've ever seen in my entire life.
The Jets are going to have no receivers next year. They're going to play with 6 tight ends on the field. Boomer can't throw the ball more than 10 yards, so what does it matter?
That was a complete rejection of Kyle Brady, Greg Brady, Mike Brady, Carol Brady, every Brady, up to and including Tom Brady.
Come on now, we ain't done. We talked about that.
Who the hell is Ken O'Brien? And you didn't take Dan Marino?
In 1983, the Jets passed on Hall of Famers and took the lesser-known Ken O'Brien.
The Jets come up, and lo and behold, Dan Marino is still on the board.
The fans upstairs are starting to get into this one.
And oh my goodness, the Jets have a shot. Take Dan Marino right here. Card gets handed in. The commissioner walks up to the podium.
New York Jets. Jets take their first-round selection, quarterback.
The Jets fans explode. You think, here's Dan Marino.
Ken O'Brien of California, Davis.
Jets fans almost tore the building down.
With the 5th pick in the 2009 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Mark Sanchez.
I don't understand why they cheered for Mark Sanchez.
Jets fans, they were just ready to go and have their parade. They just won the Super Bowl. They got Mark Sanchez.
Look, you're a Jet fan. We haven't had a franchise quarterback since Joe Namath. Let's be honest.
And a mix-up in the backfield. Sanchez, has the ball. Down he goes. And this one is getting out of control for the Jets.
Why are they continuing to be Jets fans? They're not getting anything positive out of it.
I've had it. I've given up my season ticket.
Just switch and be a Giants fan. Or maybe just go for a walk in the park. Something. Anything other than being a Jets fan.
And now, the number 1 draft moment of all time. Aaron Rodgers in the green room.
The green room, which is really the rejection room. When guys start to slide, that's fascinating to me. And it's entertaining because you've got guys who have never known rejection in their entire life. And now all of a sudden, they're not the cool kids anymore. They're the nerds at the table that nobody wants to hang out with.
Nobody knows the loneliness of the green room more than our number 1 pick, Aaron Rodgers, who spent 4.5 hours waiting.
Rodgers, that's got to be way up on this list.
They're pale by the time you get to the end of that first round, so it's the ultimate reality TV.
It's kind of what makes the draft interesting. As morbid as that sounds, you kind of like seeing the guy sitting there that nobody wants.
Hey, this is Aaron Rodgers. We're here with Alex Smith, quarterback from Utah.
So, Alex, tell me about your experience in Utah.
Alex, tell me about your girlfriend.
It's a touchy subject these days.
I don't know if that tests social intelligence. I think I got him by a little bit on that.
Aaron Rodgers grew up in Northern California in the Chico area. He played at Cal.
Now, don't hurt yourself, okay? There's a draft tomorrow.
We just looked at him and said, he's absolutely it. Alex Smith was this guy who had flourished unbelievably. And even Urban Meyer at the time was saying, yeah, but I think he may take a little bit longer in the NFL.
Welcome to the 2005 National Football League College Draft.
Aaron Rodgers' green room moment was actually the most painful draft day television of all time.
The San Francisco 49ers select Alex Smith, Ronnie Brown, Braylon Edwards, Cedric Benson.
The hours just turned into absolute agony for that guy.
I don't know how many people were in the room to begin with. There's nobody to talk to. And there's just a camera sitting on this face that looks like it's just melting.
Not everyone agrees with our number 1 draft moment.
The best drop was Brady Quinn.
Brady Quinn is chilling, literally, in the green room.
At the beginning of it, his girlfriend was stapled to his shoulder.
We could see one of those falls that nobody was expecting.
By the end of it, she's basically just handing out her cell phone number around Radio City Music Hall.
His girlfriend was pretty much, I'm thinking, responsible for the start of sports blogs because all anyone was talking about was Brady Quinn's girlfriend in the green room.
Anytime you come to New York, you know this may happen. I mean, hopefully I won't be here as long as Aaron Rodgers was a couple years back.
Quinn may have fallen hard at the draft, but Rodgers fell harder.
With the 24th selection in the 2005 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Aaron Rodgers, quarterback from California.
It was good training for Rodgers. He had to wait several hours in the green room for his name to be called. And then once he gets to Green Bay, he has to wait several years for his name to be called.
I want to go to a team that wants me, and they obviously didn't want me and didn't think I was going to help the team out, and Green Bay does.
The saddest looking man that I've ever seen in sports.
If you're ever going to cry watching the draft, that was the time.
Boo-hoo. The guy replaced Brett Favre, which was like unthinkable, won a championship.
The Green Bay Packers are world champions of football!
Poor Aaron Rodgers having to sit in the green room, like that's the one bad thing that's ever happened in that guy's life. Like, how is he even on this list? I don't feel bad at all for Aaron Rodgers.